Welcome, everyone, to June 7th, the Tesla Beat podcast number 55. It is incredible how much life just happens, specifically in the Tesla fast lane. It feels really in a lot of cases, the Elon fast lane, all the stuff that he's dealing with. He obviously had an incredible, thankfully successful week, given the way that the Starship launch happened. But just so much going on. And, obviously, as we know, it's amazing to see the community come together for various efforts, to see things that, for example, Alexandra, that you've just been, pioneering and ultimately just pushing super hard to really just get us to getting awareness out about voting, and, from community events to obviously next week, the shareholder meeting. So it feels like it takes a village, and we're going to be spending a decent portion of the time just talking about what to expect this upcoming week, things that you can do to be voting, and just things that are top of mind, things that are happening with even Amy, an old co-host with us, and friend of our, really for all of us, but just a friend of ours, who is actually filing a lawsuit herself. So we will get into all of that. But Alexandra, I'll just, maybe this week, just give us top of mind, like things that are going on that you're seeing, issues with banks and things like that, just like high level from a voting standpoint, what you see going on. And then just really just more of like, even before we get into potentially how you can vote, just things that are going on, but just things that you're expecting for this upcoming week.
Sure. I mean, it's been wild, but we're not there yet in terms of everybody having voted, but we're getting closer. And I just want to tell everybody who listens now and hasn't voted yet, don't do anything else until you voted now, because first of all, time is running out. All votes are casted until next Wednesday. Then Thursday is the shareholder meeting. Some international banks pretend that some of the international people can vote simultaneously with the meeting. I've never seen it, but let's just hope that works. And then so I have the feeling everybody that's in the United States and Canada is used to doing that, has understood that they have to vote with every account, right? Make sure that you have a control number or an email for each and every account, because if you vote only once, that's only for one account. You have to vote multiple times if you have Tesla shares in multiple accounts. So, but I have the feeling that is sort of, most people understood that now and have done it. The second point is the international. So we've been working for 3-4 weeks now, making sure international retail investors have a means to vote. I don't know, it's difficult to estimate, but I think about 50 to 100 million votes have been casted thanks to that. So, and I mean, it's not me, I'm just a mouthpiece. It's me, and then obviously Elon reposting and pinning it, and then the banks acting, right? I mean, I'm just a little person in the front of this. This is not about me. But if 50 to 100 million shares have been voted, and these are all favorable votes to Elon and to Tesla, this could make the real difference. So I'm very, very proud that so many people jumped on the bandwagon, helped with this, and then voted. Now, for the international voters this week, we have the news that Tesla has now for a couple of weeks what is called a proxy solicitor. They're called Innisfree. They're in New York, and they have now mobilized their London branch. And so London branch is called Land Isle. A lady called Solange, and I feel really sorry for her because I published her email, because she is the point of contact. If you couldn't vote via your bank, you could get a letter of representation from your bank saying on the 15th of April you own so and so many shares. Sent that signed letter from the bank as a PDF to the email of Solange, and she is now inundated. I mean, the poor woman, not sure she's going to get much out of her weekend this time, but they are now sending everybody who has put in their PDF, and please be patient. I know lots of people have sent them yesterday or the day before and haven't heard yet. They're inundated. Just keep on being patient. So Land Isle is going to send them back the proxy vote statement that you have to fill out, email back to them, and they are going to make your vote count. So there is finally a window. I would have hoped we had that 2 weeks earlier, but it is what it is. So this is really the last minute effort. This works for Austrian investors, for German investors, for Nordea investors, which is still the only Scandinavian bank who is resisting, for the Australians. So this works for anybody who could not so far do it. Everything is in my pinned post and in the comment below with all the details. So if you haven't voted yet, if your bank makes it difficult for you and you're international, you're overseas, please use that as a last minute push to get it done. I can't promise that everybody will be able to vote, but this is our last window we have, and we just have to use it. Everybody else, please, especially those that inadvertently have published their control numbers a couple of weeks ago when people just posted whatever they could as a screenshot. If your control number was out there, it is absolutely important that when we get closer to the to June 12th, so by Wednesday, but you can obviously start checking now, you go back on proxyvote.com and you check that your votes are still the same as they were, because proxy vote actually allows you to change them up to the last minute. So if somebody saw your control numbers, they can just go in there and change them. And obviously you don't want that. So make sure they're changed back to your original choices that you made. So I'm just going to hammer that up to Wednesday, that people go back and check their proxy votes that they put on proxyvote.com, make sure it is their choices. And then we just have to pray and be happy and believe it, right? Because then on Thursday, people always ask me, so when do we have the results? Well, on Thursday, they will announce whether we reach the quorums for each category, because, you know, there are different quorums. Probably remember about a year or two ago in one of the shareholder meetings for one of the votes on shortening the board members' tenure, because at the moment they all have a 3-year tenure and then they're up for re-election again. For that one, they couldn't get enough quorum to push that vote through. That is the same basket of votes, meaning all outstanding shares, which is underlying for the Texas redomestication question. So my best guess for that one is that we will not reach the quorum as well. But again, one thing I learned is Tesla is the company with the most retail investors in the world. Not only that, we have 44% of the shares, but we are 10 million people. So we need to make sure that for this vote, and I mean, there are only a couple of days left, but especially for future votes, 10 million people know how to vote. We are a force. And I mean, some of you may have 9 shares like this idiot, and others may have many more shares, but it doesn't matter. Each of you need to be able to understand how next time you can vote, because this Texas vote, if it doesn't have the quorum, if it doesn't have the underlying basket enough, people voting, then it will probably be represented in 6 or 12 months. So you have to make sure that between now and then you understand whether you should change of broker, or you should, understand from the basics how it goes. I mean, I'll try to do more basic information once we're done with this, because at the moment I can just concentrate on this. But we need to make sure that this retail mass of people needs to understand that they can vote. It is important to vote. As a shareholder, this is one of your rights. It's even one of your duties, I would say. So, and again, no other mega caps. They usually have 1 million, maybe 1.5 million. 10 million people worldwide. So it was a learning experience for me the last 3-4 weeks. And I have to say, I wish it would have been easier. I wish I could have given clearer instructions from the beginning. I wish actually people would have known from the start, but it is what it is. Next time we'll know, right? We'll make sure we know what we're doing, and we can still pray that this Thursday, everything passes. So they will announce on that Thursday meeting. Sorry, I'm going back to where I was. Whether we got the quorums necessary. So the big quorum is for the Texas redomestication, all outstanding shares. We need 50% plus 1 having voted, and then we need 50% plus 1 that would have voted for the redomestication. So that probably we don't have the quorum. And the other quorum is casted votes. So that's much easier for all the other 11 items on the agenda. And then we'll have the different results, right? We'll also have, for the last 7 points, those were shareholder and activist shareholders bringing forward these proposals. They will have their 2-minute slot to tell us, why they were motivated to bring these forwards. So it's going to be a typical shareholder meeting. It starts at 3:30 on Wednesday Central Time. Very, formal agenda items, and they will tell us how how each result came in. And if it's very close, they may be not able to tell us, but if it is fairly clear, they will be able to give us the basic result. And the details will be published in an SEC filing 3-4 days later. So that's when we have the share counts, and to each item, the who voted for, not who, but how many voted for, how many voted against. And then people ask me, when will we know when the big fund managers, how they voted? They can make press releases, they can publish it themselves. So that could come very early. They're not obliged to do that, but they are obliged to do an SEC filing. But the SEC filings for these items are quite late, months ahead. So we will obviously keep an eye on those when they come out, and we will see then how they voted. But it's not something we'll immediately know, except if they come out with with their vote and say it. For example, this morning, Barron Funds, Ron Barron's company, came out and said, we'll vote for everything the board has recommended and against everything the board said to vote against. So it's good to know. ARC, obviously, yesterday, Kathy Wood made a really nice thread on X about her reasoning. It's very clear that they're going to support it as well. But from the others, we will have to either wait for them to hear or for these SEC filings.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a big week. Jeff, did you want to just give your take onto what your expectations rolling into this week are, as far as like the shareholder meeting, and what, because obviously you have a different POV, especially, Alexandra is just neck deep in this, but what is your expectations rolling into this week? What are you hoping to see, not hoping to see? And based on even the stuff that you've been either consuming or reading or seeing Alexandra's posts, like, what are your thoughts heading into this week?
Yeah, no, I appreciate Alexandra's leadership on this, and honestly, the in written form and verbal form, and really getting this message out there. I think it's helpful for all the retail shareholders. Probably, it'd be interesting to know the voting totals from like prior votes to this vote, because I can imagine this one being overwhelming in terms of vote count, and that to me speaks to the fact that there's greater awareness. So I really appreciate that. This is an important time for shareholders. I think, you voted your shares in 2018 if you were a shareholder back then, and you voted for a compensation plan. And I'm not going to sound like a broken record, and I'll just reiterate, I mean, the points are so succinct. I mean, a deal is a deal. And honestly, not only to me, like, does that 2018 vote just need to be ratified and move forward, but I'd really want to hear, and I don't know if we're going to hear anything from the board on this, Thursday, but honestly, how are they going to motivate probably the most important human asset and leader, in the world, developing technology? How are you going to motivate them to spend, because he's got multiple companies, how are you going to motivate him to spend as much time as possible as he needs to at Tesla? And I just, from working inside of companies and working inside of tech, I just think there's just a lot of misnomers out there, and just honestly bad takes and bad information, especially leading into this vote, about the effort that was involved to 10x, 11x the companies, the sacrifice that's involved to do that, and what it's like to literally, put your head down for a couple of hours every night, have a set of like worries on your mind about, how are you going to keep this company afloat? How are you going to grow it? And then to wake up and probably be woken up in the middle of the night, multiple nights a week, with factory outages or problems, or, it could be a lawsuit. It could be a number of different things. Just everything that's just piled on top of this person and the Tesla team is just, it's just enormous. And to wake up with that, every day you've got to wake up with those tasks to carry that company forward. It's sometimes it can be daunting. So what you'd want to know is, you want to know that your shareholder base is behind you. You'd want to know that your board is behind you, and you'd really want to move forward. So I think the plan for the next 5 to 10 years has got to surpass, quite frankly, what they did for the 2018 plan. And remember, the 2018 plan, they reserved for the 2018 plan already, I think back in 2018, 2017, $2.3 billion. So I think that's important. That plan today would cost over $20 billion if you were to redo that plan today. So really, that plan really needs to be voted through and move forward. And really, to me, the focus needs to turn to how do you motivate Elon for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I would echo that. Also, I've been very vocal about the fact that I don't like that a judge could just overturn our votes that we had. Like I made that vote. Like, you know what I mean? Like that was our plan, and to just have somebody just null and void that, it doesn't sit well with me. And I wholeheartedly am for the move to Texas. Like that just makes way more sense, especially considering like the judges. I don't know, more of that judge in particular seems very outspoken against what seems to be something you shouldn't judge against. You know what I mean? Like as a judge, you should be kind of impartial, but she doesn't seem very impartial. So, and I don't know how many are like that. I know like this is like that one person, and there might be people like that in Texas too, but they just seem to be way more for Elon. He really got to figure out the selling of the vehicles direct to consumer. But other than that, I'm all for the move to Texas.
Can I jump in here if you mind? I'm sorry, I don't want to monopolize this show. But
feel free to. This is an important week, so feel free to.
Thank you. I want to thank those people that had the same reaction than Joe and followed my call to write letters to the court, right? Remember, and I got a lot of heat then. There were people like, oh, you're making people do things that just will end in the wastebasket. This is not going to do anything. Well, what happened this week is end of May, the judge finally made all these letters, 1,388 letters and about 189 emails public. Amazing. So this is something that never happened before. You can make a book out of these letters. There are letters, I mean, you can sit there and cry. There are others you're going to laugh. It is incredible how small retail investors, moved up and did this. And all of them had more than 9 shares. So to explain a little bit what happened there, she got these letters in February, March, and said to Bloomberg straight away, well, she doesn't know what to do with this. She's never seen a thing like that, and that was that. And she would ask the attorneys from both sides what to do with it. So obviously, Tesla's attorneys must have brought forward enough pressure. And I do believe this woman is now, don't forget, she's the head of the Chancery Court. She's not just one of these, multiple low-level judges. She is the head of it. And she is always picking Elon's cases. She knows what she's doing. Smart cookie, but not so smart somewhere else. And so the way this happened is, in March, she was completely against making this public and annexing these documents to the file, because by making them public record, they are now part of the file, and in any appeal will be resorted. These are now pieces that Tesla can use. So she objected that. Now we're end of May, and she finally did it. And I promise you that in April and May, she got pressure from the state of Delaware. The state of Delaware doesn't want Tesla to leave, because this is the beginning. This is breaking the dam for them. And Delaware doesn't have much other things. Oh, I think I'm having an electricity cut. No, sorry, we're back. An electricity cut. I'm sorry about that. Delaware doesn't have much else to offer than the fact that they're an incorporation state. Why they're an incorporation state? Because since long time, as an LLC, if you put your LLC to Delaware, the shareholders of the LLC, for the LLC it's called members, remained anonymous. That is only possible out of all 50 states in the United States, in Delaware, and now in Wyoming. All the other 48 states, every year or 2 years, there's a public filing showing who are the shareholders of the LLC. So in Delaware, that is the case. If you want to know the shareholder of an LLC, the member of the LLC, you need to have a judge's order to get there. And that made Delaware a very attractive place to incorporate. And then the corporations came in, and that build up, and that's going to happen in Texas too. It will take time, but that build up a judicial system that was seen as being favorable to entrepreneurs. That's why large corporations followed the small LLCs that went there for Anonyma, saying, okay, this is great. They have the judges, they understand how entrepreneurs work, how our businesses work. They are, this is the way, the place to be to have a fair shake for your company. Well, not anymore. So, and she single-handedly put that one string of reputation they had into question, because that is all that Delaware is selling. There is nothing else in Wilmington. There are streets lined with law firms that are going crazy right now, because if this has the effect that we all think, meaning that everybody goes, oh my God, why would I stay in Delaware if Elon gets this treatment? I'm no Elon, but the next law case, I mean, in America, everybody sues everybody. And especially when a jurisdiction gives this feeling that shareholders have enormous power, and this 9 shareholder guy has enormous power, or had, that gives to a lot of bad actors the motivation to give it a try, right? I mean, if you have a law firm that works on contingency or whatever, or sees a way for them to be paid billions, they will bring forward any stupid law firm. They sue whoever comes up, and if that becomes a reputation for Delaware, that's just not good. So what I suspect, I have no proof, but what I suspect happened between March and May is that she got her earful about that this is not so clever. And then she finally accepted to publish these letters, not because she was, having any love for shareholders. That's not what it is, but because there was pressure. And that is probably going to help us forward. So I have the feeling the wind has turned. I mean, not enough yet. We need this obviously done. The judgment will be what it was, because that's, the only remaining item is the attorney's fee of the plaintiff. So she will publish that, but it could be much more favorable in appeal now.
Alexandra, when do you think, I love the analysis, by the way, when do you think will be the first data point where we'll really be able to test if she's turned, besides publishing the letters?
There are two. Yeah, there are two. I mean, the first one, there are 3 actually. Let me think this through. The first one is, how much is she going to allocate attorney fees? So this morning, and we may get to Amy's case because that's linked to it. Amy filed a motion as a shareholder against these attorney fees. And this morning, Tesla also filed, or maybe last night, we just don't have the document yet. Tesla filed a response to the plaintiff's attorney who is asking these 29 million shares. And they just said, this is crap. Maybe most of all, we owe you 13 million, 13. Amy's case, there are multiple scenarios that are played. In the maximum, it would be 44 million that they consider would be a just payment. So the judge now has, on one side, the plaintiff's attorney saying, I want 29 million shares, about $5 to $6 billion. On the other side, you have Amy now in there saying, her law team, excellent law team, saying somewhere between 20 and 44 is the max you should get. Now we have Tesla this morning coming out saying 13. Okay, so the first data point is going to be, what is she going to allocate? Because that is now her decision, and we await that judgment for beginning of July. So she will have, obviously, by then, the shareholder vote and everything else to digest. So if that becomes a more reasonable number, that's a first indicator that she is bunkering down. The second one is if we get the shareholder vote for Elon's compensation next Thursday, that story is not over. That story has to be ratified by a Delaware court. And surprise, surprise, it's her court again. And so that ratification is either a pure formality, that's called a 204 filing, and it just goes through, it's fine, or it gets opposition. And Tornetta's, the plaintiff's attorneys have always said they want to oppose it. So if that gets controversial again, we will see her stance on that one, because she could not accept the motion or the injunction from those attorneys and just ratify it. So that could be a second sign. The third sign is what will happen in appeal. I'm leaning towards saying, even if the plaintiff's attorney's fees are now lower, Tesla must do an appeal. Why? Because in her write-up from end of January, the judge clearly smeared the board. she considered these people not doing their job. She had words I'd never heard of in the English language, but then again, I mean, English my third language, so grant me that. But she really painted a picture of an inexistent and complacent board. That cannot stand. If they do not make appeal, this would stand. This would become a precedent where lots of people since 2018 could now say, look, this judge in Delaware, this head of Chancery Court judge, smeared the board and nobody appealed. And so this becomes a reality. I mean, of course, it's not a reality, but it has to be fought against. And so I think that is the reason why we will see an appeal in any case. And I expect the appeal to be much more favorable than what we now have. There's only one level of appeal in Delaware. It's straight away to the Supreme Court of Delaware. And I hope that goes through. So there are 3 moments in time, none of them immediate. I mean, the first one is the July allocation of the money for the plaintiff's attorneys. Then we'll see how quickly that shareholder vote gets ratified so that the compensation plan of 2018 is reinstated. And then the appeal.
Yeah, I think, for our audience, could you just give us a brief, you kind of went into it a little bit, but what exactly is Amy's lawsuit contain? What is it focused on?
Sure.
What does it mean potentially? Because I think, like I said, Amy's a good friend of mine, love all the work she's doing, but some of this stuff is just way beyond.
Yeah.
I mean, stuff that you're doing even to be honest, like I'm here to amplify your voice. And obviously do my part by voting and telling other people to, but there's just certain things that, are just way above my head.
And it should be, John, because I mean, this governance stuff is boring. Either you have the mindset, that Amy and me have and love digging into this stuff, or you don't. And the same way, I see lots of engineering stuff that I have no clue about. Yesterday, people were talking about SpaceX, and I'm sitting there crying because I love it, but do I understand anything? No. When people were talking about plasma, I said, what's plasma, right? A good thing I have a good husband. But it's that's it. We all have our little windows, and I think just my call was here because this is important that we get it through, and I seem to be quite good at rallying the troops. But Amy is by far the smartest cookie around. I'm sorry, but for all 3 of you, including me, I mean, there is nobody that I know in the Tesla community that has her ambition and knowledge in these matters. I mean, unstoppable woman. So to sum it up, in March, we were rallying the troops, the letters and all that. We were also, that was Amy's initiative, doing that shareholder letter to the board, because we instructed the board to bring this forward again and to get us out of Delaware. So we had this survey, 6,000 people, nearly 6,000 people replied. It was more than 28 million shares represented, printed it out, sent it to the board and said, now, get this ratified a second time and get us out of Delaware. So, and that was her initiative. I mean, I was the mouthpiece and amplifying and organizing it, but she was behind that. And then once that was done, we was thinking about a couple of things. Should we bring flowers to the step of the Chancery Court? I mean, there were stuff there, some of it a bit more easy, some of it a little more complicated. And then one day, so that was Kristen, Amy, and me. Kristen is just a great friend. I mean, she's always so supportive. Just want to shout out to her as well. Great. So, and then one day Amy said, you know what? I have found the counsel I want. I'm going to bring in a motion. Sue, we'll see how we'll do that. Because, there are different ways how you can do that. Amicus letter, not whatever. There are a couple of amicus letters, actually, by the way, as well. They will be published in a couple of days as well. So, but she wanted to do some, stepping up to that. And then we were discussing among the 3 of us, should we do it all 3? Should we share our roles? Because one thing is clear from that moment onwards, the second she would sign an engagement with her lawyer, she could not be seen in public anymore, right? And so we decided that maybe the biggest mouth should remain publicly true. Don't laugh, Joe. It's true. I mean, there's no doubt I have the biggest mouth. I should remain publicly available. And I was a question whether it was actually helpful to be two or whether it was better just to have one person. So in the end, it was her. And from there on, we heard very little. I mean, nearly nothing, because she was really working behind the scenes with her team. So the main person is Mr. Grundfest, who is a Stanford law professor, and who she reached out to his office. I mean, this woman has balls. I'm sorry about my English. I don't find any better words. I mean, could you see yourself calling the office of a Stanford law professor and speak to a secretary and say, look, I'm Amy.
Nope.
I'm a shareholder of Tesla. We were doing wrong. I really want Mr. Grundfest to help me. I mean, I have a big mouth, but never in my world would I do that, right? I couldn't do that. I would shake with anger, with face, whatever. So there she did it. And 15 minutes later, he called back. And he said, you know what? I saw that. This was wrong. We're going to help you. We're going to work on contingencies. So what does it mean when lawyers work on contingencies? No money will be paid by Amy. They are working on the fact that they will bring those lawyer fees down from 5 billion to whatever they have agreed to. And then they will be remunerated by Tesla, which is a fair deal, because Tesla, instead of paying 5 billion to them, will pay a small little fraction of that to these lawyers. So, I mean, that's the best deal Tesla could ever have, because, you know, that's the best argument ever. So no cost for us shareholders. And then Grundfest was the one that reached out to the law firm helping them. And there again, the best of the best. I have a whole thread about a portrait of each of them. It is incredible. Incredible people. We have the lawyer who brought through the Affordable Care Act at the Supreme Court. I mean, outstanding people. All of them have clerked at Supreme Courts. And when I read their profiles, it is clear to me that if this doesn't go the way they want this to go, this is not going to stop in Delaware. They're going to go to the federal Supreme Court with this case if it needs to be. They
Amazing.
are motivated, and she could have not found a better
Crazy.
team. It is. And I mean, who are we? You see what I mean? I'm standing here. I'm like, what a privilege to watch this woman get this done, right? It is absolutely crazy. And so the last 2 months they worked on this, and they filed their motion this week. So this motion at the moment is limited to what is the last question currently available, which is the plaintiff's attorney's fees. Okay, so that is what is currently the concentration of this, meaning the plaintiff's attorney asked for this 29 million shares, and they're making the argument that it should be much less, somewhere between 20 and 40. There are a couple of scenarios that they lay out. Very, very easily written. I've published a link so you can all read it. Honestly, if you have an hour's time, it is outstandingly written to the point that it's easy to read, even if you're not legalese, whatever. It makes a lot of sense. It goes through the 3 scenarios, how this should be calculated. The main point is that it is a complete scam to take the current 40 to 60 billion value of Elon's option, depending on the share price, and say I want a part of that. The starting point, if really you think you deserve anything, and obviously they shouldn't, you should start with the value of that package in 2018, because that is what you're trying to undo. And that package then had a value of 2.3 billion. And it only is valued now 40 to 60 because of Elon's work. So here come these suckers, and I'm sorry I'm saying the word, but here come these suckers and say, I want my remuneration on the fruit of the work of Elon because he doesn't deserve it, but I want my cut out of it. I mean, this is just outrageous. So anyway, so here we are. And she and Amy did a stellar job guiding them. She wrote an affidavit. I mean, you cry when you read it. It's just perfect. And this has been now added. So the big question was, would the judge accept it or not? Because the judge can reject pieces that are brought to the case, right? I mean, it's not easy to reject, but it's doable. And when we saw last week that the letters got published, and that's why I said to you earlier, I think it became very likely that they would accept the motion, and they accepted it straight away. So here we are. I mean, kudos to Amy. It's just unbelievable what she did. It really is. And I think honestly, we're today in the best position in a horrible case that should have never gone where it went, and fighting back. I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of all the shareholders. What I want to do once the vote is over, just because at the moment we just have to concentrate there. I don't want to disperse my energy nor the energy of all of us. But once this vote is over and we're back home, so in about a week, I want to set up maybe a change.org or a survey where people can bring their support to that case. And we're going to bring that to the lawyers of Amy, and we'll see whether they want to bring it to the court or not. But I want people to sign up and make sure that they understand this is not just one woman fighting this, but there are loads and loads of shareholders that support her.
Yeah, I think, so, shout out to Amy. Well, so, first off, Alexandra, thank you for all you're doing. I mean, this is just, we're all, all of us, even out of the four of us, we all bring different things to the community. And it's crazy how how big the toolbox is in the Tesla community, right? Like, you have people like Joe and I who are very much obviously front facing with the community, doing community building things, helping push laws like, things like getting our local candidates involved, things, stuff that just more community focused. You have, again, people like Jeff, supply chain experts, just breaking things down, especially as, Tesla was going through hardships and other things, and he can just kind of help level set. And then you have people like yourself who are very, investor, financial savvy, who just totally, can help really break things down. And as you said too, really help rally the troops. And then, even Amy, right? Like I literally met her, I guess it was a year ago, like in a space, like a Twitter space, X space. And it was when, again, you had all these people just, I'm selling my shares and this and that. And she just like came out of the woodworks. I kid you not. And the funny thing is, then she like lives in my area, right? She lives in the Bay Area and, Tahoe, whatever it is. So, it's incredible to see the work that she's doing. And really importantly, I think you broke it down where it's interesting to see how the tables are slightly turning, where people, one, it's like, obviously don't mess with Elon, but more importantly, just this community, we've all, put our necks out on line, made big bets, either investing, buying these cars, not knowing if this company was going to survive, telling our friends for years. I mean, that's this, like, I remember back, and I'm actually later to the community. I joined in 2019. And when I joined, I remember telling my coworkers about Tesla and all this other stuff. And now you fast forward like 5 years later, they all have one, and they would all send me pictures of theirs or tell me like, hey, what trim? Do you have a referral code? And so I think, as you said, Delaware is becoming aware of this tsunami of support. And that's really the Elon support. And like I probably have, this is not to gloat or anything, but some of the things that I've been able to see, whether it's Giga Berlin, I just got a Star Factory tour this past week. You just cannot put in words what Elon is doing, how he has built manufacturing.
I agree.
The engineering, like people say he's not an engineer. It's like, you don't even know what you're talking. Like, metaphorically speaking, I want to throw a brick at your head because it's like you're so blind. You can't see reality.
I have an idea, John. I think that belt buckle. You know that belt buckle that says "Don't mess with." I think it should say "Don't mess with Tesla retail investors" or even with Tesla shareholders. I really, if on Thursday this passes, and again the Texas vote is very unlikely, but if they both pass, I think I will stand up and say to Elon, you know what? Tesla owns us one thing: put in the shop, don't mess with Tesla shareholders, because I think that's what we all deserve.
Yeah, and this is similar to what 2018, 2019 was, right? Elon would get so frustrated with people, these Wall Street analysts who would ask the dumbest questions. They're all asking short-term things, and he's, again, this guy thinks in 5-10 year increments. And he got over it. And who were the people backing him, and now backing him even more? And again, I really think it's interesting how, where we've come as a community too, because I think more and more people's colors have been shown, like who is in this and who really gets the company, and who, and again, it's different if you jumped in at the high. I partially get where you're coming from. I'm not going to say I went all in at that price or anything. I've been around a minute, but it's just you cannot react to these short-term focused people, right? Like without Elon, and I think even without Elon going forward, Tesla has a different trajectory. Elon, the type of people that Elon can bring to a company is incredible. You bring the best talent to this workplace. I mean, you see it happening, at all the factories. You see it happening. I saw it at, Starbase, at SpaceX. I mean, these are not just average people. These are the top 2 or 3% of talent, top 1% of talent out there. And so I think that's what this is. Not this was about. I don't know if I went on that rant, but I think, what we're seeing is, Delaware is realizing that this is going to be hopefully really bad for them. And I hope if this ends up, some of the things go down, I hope it ends up being really bad for them. And I hope that, this sets a precedent really for other states and other people that want to do that. But at the end of the day, they're also, not every other company is going to be built like the support. There is no other company or person that probably has this type of, maybe Taylor Swift, I don't know, The Rock, just like people like that have this type of pull. So again, I thank you for your incredible work. Thank you, Amy, for, she's the type of person that, like, hey, I don't understand everything you just said, but, I agree with the top things, the headliners, and, how do we empower you to just go and do your thing? You know what I mean? And that's really what I thought that these, when I heard about, this case coming and all this other stuff, like, how can I best support you? I can't do all the things that you can do, but, so yeah, it's crazy. Any other thoughts on that or, on this?
No, I think we're good. You said it all. I mean, and it is so true. This shareholder base, nobody has ever seen. Nobody has ever seen 1,388 letters to a judge in Delaware. Nobody has ever seen 6,000 shareholders in 4 days signing up to mission the board to get this sorted out. Nobody has ever seen anything like this. This is the strongest shareholder base there is. Yes, we'll have some vocal ones. And that's actually the last thing I want to do today. All those that are motivated to vote no because Elon said something on X that you don't like, or because your share is down, your share price is down, think what you're doing. Think once, think twice. Because the one thing that you're doing is, first of all, you're going to plummet the share price. Fair enough. If you think that was clever, that is one thing. But you have co-investors. We're 10 million with you here. You're actually hurting us. You're not hurting Elon. You're hurting us. So if you want to do that, if you want to hurt me, John, Joe, Jeff, go ahead, do that. 10 million people there. Okay, so think twice.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that. And, I remember I actually, I remember I was just traveling in the past week, 2 weeks back. And I remember this guy, he had a Model 3 and his wife he told me, oh yeah, my wife would never buy Tesla, because of Elon and his political views. And I just said, well, has she ever owned a VW? Like, the roots there, right? Like this, Hitler started that company. So it's just like, and that's what our grandparents or, our parents, like, era, like, this is not long ago where, this man was alive and all of that stuff was happening. And so, it doesn't make sense. Nike has its issues. I mean, you could go down the list of all the companies and their, and their issues. And so, yeah, I think obviously what you see is what you get with Elon. He's obviously become very vocal. He's always been vocal, but he's become, more vocal, obviously, because he has a platform to do that on. Jeff, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I'm just going to add, I've done some outreach to some prominent no voters who've publicly come out, and I've asked the question: so what's on the other side of your no vote? If you get what you want, where do you see the company? Where I mean, right now this is honestly a battle for Elon's time. If you appropriately compensate him, basically do what you said you were going to do, which is to me is very basic, but also set him up for the next period of time. But what's the alternative? Are you going to be on the other side interviewing? Let's say the worst case, a replacement like for what are you looking for, and how is it going to be better, quantifiably better than the current CEO? And one of the things I encounter upon having these thoughts or even doing some outreach is the person on the other side has never actually been in a situation like the situation that Elon is in or his staff is in or this whole, and it's okay because there's a lot of people who haven't been in that situation but can actually understand it. But then you have these no voters who actually don't understand the situation and can't actually put together, okay, you're pledging your shares against this situation. So basically you're not going to compensate someone for the past several years. And then
Crazy.
what is the plan going forward? And you get no answer. Like what is the path? And you get these super things. I want a full-time CEO. I want that. And this is where they actually don't have a concept of time management, how Elon does time management, how he manages his company. They think they know where he is and how long he's working by they look at his tweets, and they don't understand that basically he works all day, almost every day of the week. And it's this whole thing of they think they know better, but they've actually never been in a situation even close to the situation he's in. And I just go back and I look at the results, and I can't look at who are you interviewing for that who else would have 11x'd the company during that time period? Give me a list of names. Also, if you're going to talk about a year or two period where there's slowing growth, are we going to have a conversation about the company in Cupertino, which is flat growth, 2022 to 2023? Are we yanking that CEO? Are we not paying that CEO? So the A/B test for these arguments on the no side, they don't work. But at the same time, I like the fact that you can put a no vote. I like the fact that you can speak your mind as a shareholder. So I think all of that is good. But I'm just trying to logically trying to understand what is on the other side of that vote. And there isn't a leader on the other side of the no vote that it says, here's the plan. You see what Amy's doing, you see what Alexandra is doing, you see the conversations we have, you see what the board is doing, but you don't the no's, you don't see the no's haven't gotten together and put together a plan of this is Tesla moving forward. This is how we see it. Here's the vision. Here's how. You don't see any of that. And to me, that makes the whole side of it. I mean, there may be good reasons here or there, but to me, it kind of turns it into, to me, it's BS. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. It's always seemed spiteful and vindictive to have this situation happen with what the judge did. It just really seemed like an in route for bad actors to be oh, finally now I can get some comeuppance for what Elon posted on X, and you know what I mean, and what he said this that did this to me. You know what I mean? It just really seemed to open the floodgates for those type of people, and we see them. We know who a lot of them are, and it's just wild that this situation has given them that opportunity. I mean, yeah, like you, Jeff, I get it. I'm all for people voting, and I stand by that. I don't care how you vote, just vote, right? But what this did, overturning what I had already voted on, you know what I mean? I didn't like that. I don't like that at all. I don't like somebody taking my decision and turning it around to where now all these bad actors get to come in and potentially make it something that I didn't want in the first place. Over 70% of the people didn't want before. Yeah.
And maybe let me point that out. So in 2018, we won this vote with 73%. At that moment, 70% of holders were institutions and only 30% retail. Now it's 52.5% institutions and 47.5% retail. That is why retail is so important. That is why retail is so complicated to organize, because it's all over the world and there's so many of it. But we're strong and we're motivated. And I would say of the retail people I talk with, which fair enough is a small sample because X only reaches so many people, are very supportive of it. The issue is that lots of people have stock and have no idea how to vote and that this vote is even taking place. So that is the big, important thing of it. Now, just going back to 2018, then the total votes cast, it was 66% of outstanding shares, so 2/3. With the 2/3, and with having the two proxy advisors, Klaus Lewis and ISS, recommending to vote against, we won it with 73%. Okay. So given all these basics, I think we will win this again. I said this yesterday, and I maintain that. I think we'll win. We'll win somewhere in the low 60s if my gut feeling is right. The one thing I just want to manage expectations: the Texas redomestication is a different basket. All shares are counted. We would need 1.6 billion shares for this. In that part, Elon and Kimball can vote, so that's about 420 million. So we still need more than 1.1 billion for that. That is a high ceiling. So just manage your expectations. That one, we probably didn't get enough votes. It's not that people are against it. It's just we don't have enough in the basket. And that will be revoted, and we need to get better organized to have those votes next time.
Yeah. It's I think, it's crazy all that's happening. If you have not voted, hopefully you have. If you have not, I did post some of the stuff Alexandra had done, some of her work. Feel free, Alexandra, even after this, let's follow up. If there's any additional posts you want me to attach to this podcast in the thread, feel free to just send it to me. But do your part, right? This is probably the most critical vote for Tesla's history in the past decade. A deal, as Alexandra would say, a deal is a deal. And the last thing you want to do is set a precedence where, someone doesn't get paid for their work. That is performance based. That seem insane, right? This is you can't make this stuff up. This is not even just he should get paid for his time. This is, if he hits these goals, he should get paid. And so I really hope that Delaware continues to feel the pressure and that they realize and potentially even backtrack or, make decisions go a different way, not because it's the right thing to do. This is just ridiculous, especially in a capitalistic market, right? This is about, what you do is what you earn. And that's what this is, the US economy is about. And so, so if you have the time, make sure you vote. I think we are.
And if you don't have the time, make the time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, so we are pretty much at the top of the hour. So just, I think two things is, again, just make sure you go vote. If you can to check out the Starship launch, go back and watch it, what they're doing. Well, really the baby is Starlink. So Starlink is funding all these things, and really bringing connectivity to the world is happening through Falcon 9, SpaceX, and the Starship, right? That's really the future. But the reality is that, SpaceX with the Starship launch, that's really more long-term, but it's inspiring to see what these people have done and accomplished. They were only expecting the booster to hit the water. Once you literally had the Starship then land in the water, it's crazy. So what they're doing to push things forward is absolutely incredible. And then I think the last thing, we are all going to be speakers at the Takeover event this summer. You can meet the force to be reckoned with, Alexandra, the supply chain expert, Jeff Lutz, community enthusiast and leader of the biggest portion of California, Joe, the Prez, and so many other people, and this, who knows, maybe there's a couple other speakers in the works that could be announced last minute. We'll see. But this is the first time Tesla and SpaceX are coming together to create, to bring the communities together, as they're very, I would say, like-minded thinking, but also to just very supportive and seeing, what has this company accomplished? What have they been through? So if you have time, end of July 27th through the 28th, come listen to amazing speakers like we have on the Tesla Beat podcast. Franz von Holzenhausen from Tesla chief designer, Model S to Cybertruck designer. He designed all of them. And then Jared Isaacman, billionaire astronaut and philanthropist and commercial astronaut. So go to xtakeover.com, get your tickets, support this community event. I know this is a hard year for everyone, but every ticket sold helps, feed these type of events. So appreciate the support, and hopefully you all have an amazing week. Go and vote. If you haven't made the time, make the time, as Alexandra would say. And I hope you guys all have a blessed week. See ya.